Hello, 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 lovely people. So I want to talk to you about using Grid and Flexbox in email code. Now, oh wait, what are you talking about, Mark? You can't use Grid, you can't use Flexbox in email. What are you talking about? That's nonsense. Well, actually, it's a little bit more nuanced than that, and I'm going to sort of talk you through it a bit. So if you're just using Display Flex, if you're just using Display Grid, those actually have really good support. I've just opened a PR on Can I Email, if I just show you up here. Display Grid, 82.93% support. Display Flex, 82.93% support. So that's actually really good. And if you want to sort of put that into context, just using like a class selector, 82.93% support. So an everyday class selector that you have like this, class name, has the same support as Display Grid and Display Flex. So that's pretty wide. But where this falls down a bit is when we start looking at things around that. So Flex Wrap has pretty poor support. Grid Template has pretty poor support. So we don't actually have the pieces around Flex and Grid that make it useful, but still on their own they do something. And this is why we need to think about it. If we're doing a progressive enhancement, we're using Grid, we're using Flex, then we do need to think about our fallbacks and make sure we're targeting things specifically, because if you get partial support, you could get some layouts that go a little bit wonky. Also, there might be something that we could use here to do some clever layouts. I've not really got any examples yet, but you know, have a think. Something might come to you, something might come to me, something might come to anyone. Let's have something to think about anyway. So first up, Display Flex. Right here, I've got up here two divs. One red, one green. They're inside a container, height 300, width 300. If I set that to Display Flex, suddenly they become side by side, and also they go to the full height of the container. Similarly, if we look at Grid down here, these are two spans, so these are just inline elements. Again, same container, height and width, 300, 300. So if I put this to Display Grid, then good Grid, then poof, they work and they fill the full height and the full width of the container here. Now also, if I was just to put just copy and paste the next one down here, put blue, you can see that's still filling the full height and width, so it's evenly distributing the three spans across the space. If I remove that, then it's breaking it back down from thirds back into halves. Another thing to look at here is margin collapse. So if we use DevTools here to inspect this, because it's going to be easier to show. Let's turn this grid off for a second. So we see I've got our H1, we've got the margin, we can see the sort of corally salmony colour around the outside showing where the margin is, and we can see the H2. We can see that margins do overlap. The H2 margin's smaller, the H1 margin's larger, and the H1 margin is sort of, the H2 is getting swallowed up by the H1 margin. So if I put, this is what's known as margin collapse. If I put Display Grid on, then margin collapse no longer takes effect, and we can see the margins butt up against each other. They're no longer getting swallowed, they're butting up against each other, so we don't have the margin collapse. A lot of people don't like margin collapse. I quite like it, I think it's useful, but maybe that's just me. So how does this work across email clients? Let's have a look at some previews. You can see, yeah, all these tests, yeah, they're all sort of, you know, this is working across everything. You got AOL, we've got iOS there, we got, you know, free.fr, we've got Gmail, GMX, nah, and then WebDE, nah. GMX and WebDE are using the same rendering engine, same as mail.com as well, if you're looking at that one. And then, oh yeah, Outlook, Windows, meh, let's just not worry about that. So anyway, it's just something to think about, and you know, see if there's any way we can use this. If you come up with any ideas, let me know. Or just being careful if you're doing a progressive enhancements. It's good to be aware of this. Cheers.